We are on a quest to complete the Pentagon Challenge, which we will only complete by winning all 5 Champions Leagues across the world. And so far, we have just taken the Egyptian second tier side all the way to the final of the African Champions League, somehow going on to win the trophy in our first attempt. Which means it's probably time to say goodbye to Africa and resign. But this club has given us so much, including our first job and unemployment, plus the coaching badges to go from no qualifications to a Continental A license holder with a 3.5-star reputation too. Not to mention the effect it's had on our manager attributes. That's some insane growth. Because remember when we started unemployed, we were a complete bum. But now that we've won the African Champions League, there's no need for us to stay. It's going to be sad to leave these boys behind, but as we say, we've got no reason to stay. It is time to unfortunately resign from my post as Asiat Petroleum Manager and see what happens next. There are some very interesting jobs straight off the bat, including the Thai champions Buriram United, who are currently sat in second place exactly halfway through the season. They match my reputation right now, however, despite winning the Thai League 12 times, they have never won an Asian Champions League. In Japan, there are 2 clubs in the top flight, including Kyoto Sanga and FC Tokyo, who are actually bottom and 15th position, again midway through the season. However, the last few years, the Asian Champions League has been dominated by Saudi Arabian clubs who have won and taken runners-up positions. That was until this season, however, as Urawa Red Diamonds and Cerezo Osaka, both from Japan, are currently in a 2-legged battle in the final, with the Red Diamonds currently 5-0 up after the first leg. So could the pendulum be shifting, and could we potentially see a rise in Japanese football? May that be a very good way to go, and hopefully the downfall of the Saudi Arabian clubs. The other option, however, would take us to Mexico for the North American CONCACAF Champions League with Pachuca, who are currently sat in a title race in Liga MX. Their reputation is slightly higher than our managerial one, and clubs don't tend to really hire managers with lower reputation, but it's still worth, I think, applying for the job just to see whether we could cheekily manage to find ourselves in Mexico. However, I don't think we can be really picky at this point. We've only had one club, and it was very difficult to even find a club as good as what we managed to do. I think we actually just play it smart, and we just apply for all 4 of these clubs. Because what's the harm in doing so? They're not going to be too bothered that we've applied for each of these roles, and any of these clubs will definitely be a step up. I know that going to Buriram United is a bit of a risk because Thai football doesn't really tend to be at the precipice of the Asian Champions League, but they do still have a very good setup. And if we do manage to get that job and we don't manage to get the others, they've kind of been like Thai champs for a while. They've been like the winners of the last 3 years. It seems like there's only really one contender as well. It could be a really easy way to like gain reputation, gain qualifications, and potentially even cause another upset. And now I guess we just gotta sit and wait to see what happens, as well as keeping an eye on to see if anything else comes up. Interestingly, I think we've just come to the end of one part of the MLS anyway, maybe like the earlier part, and 3 clubs have actually sacked their manager, including the New York Red Bulls, which is an interesting one to begin with. But Colorado Rapids, not to say that I'm going to apply for them, but is a very intriguing club because I have done the Pentagon Challenge before I became a YouTuber. This was back in FM15 a long time ago, and Colorado Rapids was the team that I actually took to the North American Champions League. Not gonna do that today, but I felt like it was just something I needed to share with you guys. Days were passing by with no news, but more options came in as Kashima Antlers in the J1 League in Japan popped up, which I also applied for, remembering that they have in fact won an Asian Champions League in 2018. But the first to invite us to an interview was the Mexican side Pachuca, followed by Buriram United, so at least there is a chance we won't be waiting much longer. Next came an interview with FC Tokyo just the day after, who interestingly was the first to approach me for an offer for the job, with a whopping transfer budget too, but I was curious about the other roles, so I asked them to delay 1 week. But it was just a day later, and both Pachuca and Buriram are also offering me the role as their manager. In that time, Burama dropped to 5 points behind the top of the league in Thailand. That, alongside the fact that Thai football isn't as strong as Japanese football right now, was enough to turn that one down. I asked to delay the Pachuca job and dove deeper into the Kyoto Sanga FC club before their interview. Their key player is Robert, who you might remember from being a youth player at Real Betis, and is an exceptional winger. They eventually offered me the job too, and I just felt like this was the correct move for me as I take my new role at Kyoto Sanga. Now, I've put together one of my favourite type of tactics on Football Manager. It's a 4-2-3-1, but with a centre midfielder on attack, so it kind of looks like a 4-1-4-1. But it allows Robert to have a lot of gaps. And I actually really like this team, by the way. We've got Masuda up top. He's 19 years of age. He is really good. Like, great pace, decent decision-making, off-the-ball finishing ability and technique, both above 15. And he's 19 with still, by the looks of it, a little bit more potential. We just need to make sure nobody activates that release clause before we manage to get him on a new contract. There's also another good youngster who isn't in the first team right now, but it's Matsumoto, again 19, is a left winger. I think I want to start this guy more than I actually want to start my actual left winger, who's a 30-year-old. It's kind of average, like good pace, good agility, but Matsumoto looks better to me. Brooks in the centre mid is a decent South African centre midfielder who will help us going forward. The reason why I've got him on centre midfield on attack is although he has really low finishing ability, he's got 15 composure. So with that gets forward whenever possible, natural fitness and stamina, he's going to be bombing in the box quite often, find himself with a lot of opportunities with good composure. He can still finish the shot off. I actually really like this setup, and I think 16th, we should be barreling up. They want us to finish mid-table by the end of the season. I think we're very much capable of that. We're on 16 points. We're never going to get relegated with this team. I think we should be looking in on top half for sure. With this being mid-season in Japan, we are already being chucked into important league fixtures, including beating the Asian Champions League winners Urawa Red Diamonds in their own backyard, which is hopefully something we can accomplish maybe soon with Kyoto Sanga, because we are making moves in the transfer window, already agreeing a deal to sign Suzuki from Vissel Kobe at the end of the season, as well as the Chelsea, who we signed to play right now for us in that attacking midfield slot. Finally, this 18-year-old Japanese star Danto Zama, who looked fantastic, also joins us for £2.7 million, but he's a right winger. And I signed him because Al Sadd matched Robert's release clause and he was unwilling to sign a new contract with us. Which is a shame because we really picked up some steam lately and went on a nice unbeaten run. And that was thanks to the form of Masuda, our wonder kid striker we have, who sometimes would just simply win games off his own back. With Robert's money, I couldn't help myself though and signed a fantastic 18-year-old Japanese goalkeeper who instantly becomes my number one. So let's carry on through this season to see where we take our new club. Well, it's the end of the season and we've got to be happy with an 11th place finish, considering we were down in 15th position when we took over, and since then we've lost our best player. And now I feel like it's all about recruitment. We got one striker coming in, but I think the most important thing is keeping the best guys that we've got. We can't afford to lose Masuda and we can't afford to lose Danto Zama. They're just way too good and they're Japanese, which means they're kind of more valuable to us than anybody else who's not in Japan. To kick things off, I decided to bring in two centre-backs, with the first being a young Japanese left-footed option called Shibuya for £1.8 million. I was also happy to sell Kawasaki to Al Shabab for £1 million, knowing I had better options coming in for free. The other centre-back I signed was a foreign centre-back because neither of the two I have right now are very good, and with limited foreign slots, this guy is definitely worth it. Big news though, I have completed my Continental Pro license and I'm now fully qualified. Bids came in for Tatsuya Ito, which I was happy to accept with a player in mind to spend the money on. That player being the Japanese defensive midfielder Sora Inoue. My final signing was a winger from South Africa that I brought in for 450k. And we have switched to a new 4-2-2 formation with a false 9 that Suzuki is perfect for. So let's see how it does in our 7th season trying to complete the Pentagon Challenge. Things started a bit ropey to begin with this season and we were very inconsistent for a while. But players like Danto Zama from the right hand side and Yuito Suzuki in that false 9 position finally got used to the new system. And we only lost one more match all the way up until the July break in fixtures, and we now sit in 3rd place in the league table. Funny enough, a position ahead of FC Tokyo, who we almost took the manager's job of. We also reached the semi-final of the J-League Cup and find ourselves against an opposition from the division below, picking up a 3-1 win in the first leg, still going on to win the second leg anyway to put us into the cup final. And the team we face in that final we just beat away from home with a 95th minute winner. Our unbelievable run has also put us to the top of the league. However, Vissel Kobe do have a game in hand over us with just a few games remaining in this unexpected title race. But it's cup final time in Japan and a chance at some silverware. However, things started really badly and we conceded direct from kickoff, but that didn't faze us, and within 7 minutes our South African left winger equalises. It wasn't until the second half when the next goal came, and it was a clanger from their goalkeeper. And that gave us the confidence to push for more, and 7 minutes later we found ourselves 3-1 up. Finally, in the 85th minute, we counter-attack a bad defensive pass and fire home to make it 4-1. And it's a great first step and good for our winning mentality that we've won this cup. And with a potential double on the cards, we are crowned the J-League Cup winners, lifting our first trophy, hopefully of many, in Asia. Back to the league, however, and we're waiting for Vissel Kobe to catch up in fixtures to see whether we win the league. We managed to win the next two with just a game to go while they began to catch up. But they first lost at home 3-0 to 13th position, followed by losing to 16th place Shannon Belmare 5-1. Giving us the most underwhelming league title win of all time as we are crowned champions with a game left to go. And considering how bad the season started as we actually crept down into the relegation zone at some point, this domestic double kind of come out of nowhere. The players that we had brought in the last season really complemented the youngsters that we already had, especially Masuda, who got 32 goals this season. It's going to be ever increasingly difficult to manage to keep hold of him with all of those clubs coming after him this pre-season. But we definitely need to keep our best players if we wish to win the Asian Champions League to our Pentagon trophy cabinet. Speaking of the Asian Champions League, unfortunately it kind of runs halfway through our season. As we can see, we just finished the J-League where we have just won and lifted the title, and yet they are only at the group stage with a game left. With Vissel Kobe, looks like they have just qualified already. So to be able to be in this competition, we're going to have to wait another whole year before the games start really happening. Speaking of the games happening, last season's winners, Shabab Al Ali, here they are, they're from the UAE, and they have currently Joe Bellingham playing for them in midfield. My scouts keep finding me fantastic strikers like these two here, who are both Japanese and 19 and 20 years old. Karu Doi, playing at FC Tokyo, even scored 20 goals in the J1 League last season, and I have to put a bid in just in case we lose one of our strikers this pre-season. A couple of our players, including our star striker, are unhappy with the lack of squad depth at centre-back. However, we have an up-and-coming talent in the youth academy that we can promote for now until we make enough money. Because right now we barely have enough money in the bank to cover the costs of the striker that I just put a bid in for. Just couldn't resist getting in though. Our reputation has increased thanks to our victories in Japan, up to a 3.5 star now. Not to mention our attributes are actually really rather respectful too. So I do think it's time we actually upgrade our look, to be honest. We've gone from basically looking like a scrub Sunday League manager. We need to change that, and I think going to a polo top is definitely the way to go. And I definitely actually think we need to make that a nice little navy color. I quite like the orange stripes though, but the trousers or the jeans don't go. They need to be black just like that. And we're already starting to look a little bit smarter on the sidelines. We are also looking rather presentable to welcome new signings as Karu Doi joins the club. That was our final signing and our best 11 season sit on the bench for now, but we are ready for the next season, which by the way started very well as we smashed our first game 8-0 away from home. So let's see if we can retain the league title and attempt to win the Asian Champions League. Well, this season, the Asian Champions League was once again won by a Saudi Arabian club in Al Ali. And at the halfway mark, we were doing everything we could to make sure we were playing in it again next year too, as we sit top of the J1 League. The Champions League group stage was finally drawn for September as the first fixtures, as we were in Group D, alongside the current defenders Al Ali of Saudi Arabia, Esteghlal from Iran, and Shanghai Port of China. And we had the hardest test right away against the current champions Al Ahly at home, and we had injuries to our goalkeeper Danto Zama, and Inouye was on international duty for Japan. This was an Al Ahly side that had Ruben Diaz at the back, partnered with Christian Romero, and on the wings had the Brazilian Galeno. So it's very easy to see why they are the current champions of Asia. And despite all of this, we put up a really tough battle and actually took the lead. Although Al Ahly did come back and equalise, leaving the game to finish 1-1. It was a lot easier against the Iranian side Esteghlal as we win 5-1. But the next match was the away game to Al Ahly, and they defeated us 3-2. And they now jump to the top of the group by 6 points as we sit in second place. In the fourth match, we defeated Esteghlal in the home leg, meaning our last 2 games was against Shanghai, who we absolutely battered 7-3 when they came to Kyoto. The final game, however, comes after all of the rest of our league fixtures, but thankfully it doesn't matter too much as we've already qualified quite comfortably. In the league, we have a very tight title race where we have the advantage thanks to a game in hand. Where in the domestic cups, we've been knocked out of the J-League Cup already, but are in the final of the Emperor's Cup against Albirex Niigata. We continued our fantastic run and won the J1 League yet again as champions by 3 points ahead of this time round Yokohama Marinos, which is a surprise second package. Vissel Kobe actually dropped all the way down to 5th place. We ended up also winning the final game of our AFC Champions League group stage fixture 7-0 against Shanghai Port. But at the start of the new year, we have that Emperor's Cup final before we play the next round of the AFC Champions League, a competition we have yet to win yet. And so it's another opportunity for us to win silverware and keep our players happy and wanting to stay for the Asian Champions League. The game was 2-2 in extra time when an attack was played down the right hand side and Danto Zama baited the defender into taking him down, and the ref awarded a penalty kick. With the resulting VAR check confirming the decision, the penalty was given, and it was Danto Zama who stepped up to take it and smashed it in. And that was the Emperor's Cup 1 for Kyoto Sanga, and this is just forever growing our reputation for years later when we search for new clubs. But next, it's the Asian Champions League knockouts. The board have set us with an initial budget of £6 million, however we have no wage, so it's more on the lines of £3 million, and we are rejecting bids left, right and centre. The draw for the Asian Champions League has been made, and we have Western United FC in the knockouts from Australia. With our transfer budget, we bring in 2 CDMs, with the first being brought from rivals Vissel Kobe, and the next is a player I remembered seeing when Buriram United was offering me a job. The first leg in Australia against Western United ended in a draw. The second leg was much more comfortable as we win the game 4-1. The quarterfinal draw puts us against Shabab Al Ahly, who, remember, won this competition very recently, just 2 seasons ago. And we caught them out from a cheeky set piece to take the lead in the first leg. However, remember who Shabab Al Ahly have: Job Bellingham, who found the final goal of the game, 1-1. He couldn't prevent us from taking the win in the second leg, however, and we are through to the semi-finals, only to face the Saudi Arabian side Al Tawoun, who have some very good players in their squad and managed by Xavi. But hey, what does Xavi have that we don't have right now? Far as I'm concerned, it's a level playing field. However, Xavi's side caught us off guard when they took the lead through Dennis Mann. I mentioned there being a level playing field, although I forgot that Xavi doesn't have Suzuki like we do, because this guy is different class and a clinical finisher, and in the first leg of the semi-final, he puts away a hat-trick. And a 1-0 defeat is still good enough to see us make the Asian Champions League final in the second leg, potentially one step closer of winning another one of the 5 in our quest of completing the Pentagon Challenge. But we've got our work cut out against an opponent that we've failed to beat in the group stage in Al Ahly. In the first leg, we were also without Suzuki, who's recovering from an injury. However, the genius of Karu Doi in the first half helped us take the lead from an incredible solo goal. We held on to the lead until the 57th minute when Galeno pulled it back for Al Ahly. And the Brazilian was a constant threat, and his solo run down our right eventually led to the Saudi side going 2-1 up. But we fought right to the final whistle, and in the 94th minute, we snatched a late equaliser through the substitute, Hinokio, on to the second leg in Saudi Arabia. We thankfully have Suzuki back for this match, and I think we have really missed him in the first leg. Also, away goals don't count in this, so we can relax there and just focus on the result today. However, if the result is a draw at the final whistle, it goes straight to penalties, and either way, the nerves are kicking in. It was a really positive start for us as we broke down the right-hand side with a cracking run, and a ball played right into the centre ricocheted into the net for an own goal off Romero. However, it only took Al Ahly 5 minutes before they woke up, and a fantastic strike from outside the box flew into the bottom corner. 1-1 at half-time as the second half begins. It was a quiet second half, but once again, the right-back Oda provided an insane cross, and Doi was there free for the tap-in to make it 2-1. And it seemed that Al Ahly had nothing left to give. And time ran out, and Kyoto Sanya are Asian Champions League winners. We went into this final as underdogs after failing to beat them in the 2 games that we played against them in the group stage, but we came to Saudi Arabia in the final with a point to prove, and that's another Champions League to add to our cabinet. With 2 out of 5 down, it's probably time to start hunting for the next one. So I took charge of the next game a few days later, a home game to say goodbye to the fans, and then I resigned from my role on the hunt for the next. Because we still aren't even halfway through the Pentagon Challenge yet.